Like a huge leap of faith here and make a really big assumption, even though we're not supposed to make assumptions. But I'm going to assume, right, that we all have moms. that we were all like somehow birthed into this existence, onto this planet to be a part of this. And so once a year, probably we need to do it more often, but anyways, once a year because commercialism says that we should, because the company's Hallmark says that we should, right? We take a few minutes, some time, send a little message, have a little prayer, sing a little song, do a little dance, whatever it is, right? To remind us, that we didn't come here, totally on our own, that somebody carried us for a few months and held us close to them for those few months, and then birthed us. So today we have the opportunity of hearing Rev Ken as he speaks to us about thank you, Mom. Rev Ken.
Thank you, Pat.
You call me Mom.
Thank you, Mom. Gee, I haven't seen my mom for a little while now, but I should apologize. On the back, there's a back table there, and Spirit kind of put that idea through that we should just invite people to bring a picture of their mom, and we just put it out there and just scribble on there, this is my mom and whatever. It went in the e-blast, I think, though, only about once. So maybe we'll do it next year. Think it might be a nice idea? I kind of dug through a bunch of pictures yesterday and oh, there's Mom. Oh, gee. Anyway, I chose Helen Serl to be my mother. I chose Helen and Ray Serl to be my parents. My mom, Helen Nielsen Putnam, was born in Medicine Hat, Alberta in the summer of 1918. She was the youngest of 6 children. She followed her siblings' example of high school graduation and post-secondary education, becoming a registered nurse. She married my dad, Ray, in Victoria, BC in December 1944 at the age of 26. My brother Don was born in August 1947 and I followed in April 1949. Let's see, 67. Pregnancy and childbirth was difficult for Mom. Maybe having 2 children within 20 months was too stressful for her. In any case, she experienced significant eczema and asthma carrying and birthing my brother and me, particularly after I was born. She was quite ill to the point of being bedridden after some hospitalization and unable to, somebody did this to me. That says 3, I numbered wrong, but it wouldn't have been me. Unable to care for her babies. My brother and I were taken to Abbotsford to live with an aunt and uncle for 6 months. As it turned out, that was the amount of time that my mom needed to recover sufficiently so that she could take care of her babies. Apparently, when my dad arrived in Abbotsford to pick us up, he tearfully declared that he didn't ever want to be separated from his boys in those circumstances ever again. A doctor had offered the opinion that my mother's health was jeopardized living in the coastal wet climate. My dad decided at an appropriate time to set off into the interior of BC in search of a new place to live with a drier climate. 1952, February, Mom boarded the CPR Railroad in Vancouver with her 2 sons, Don and me, and made the relatively short journey to Kamloops. Don was 4, I was 2. Meanwhile, my dad had loaded all of the family's possessions onto a 1-ton Ford truck pickup.
You know the story.
Yeah, I know. I know the story. Now, does 2 come before 4, or how does that work? I don't know. We'll just see how it turns out. Okay. I've got to stay with it or else I wander, right? This is about family and you get, oh yeah, I remember Uncle Ed and stuff. I didn't even have an Uncle Ed. And made the rather challenging drive up through the Fraser Canyon on narrow, slippery winter roads. He made it and joined Mum, who had rented a room at the Plaza Hotel. A few days later, we moved into Scott's Motel for what turned out to be a 2-month stay. With my dad having a steady job by that time, steady income in a grocery store, added to some savings that they might have had, we were able to buy a house across the river in the village of North Kamloops, population under 5,000, in amongst the sand dunes on the lot where General Grant's store is nowadays. The sands of the Kalahari, the sands of North Kamloops. From the wet vegetation on the coast to sand dunes in North Kamloops. Quite a change for my parents, but they did very well. Albeit with one sizable renovation and planting enough grass, flowers, and weeping willow trees, that very modest home served us well. My brother and I both moved to Vancouver to attend university after graduating from high school. My brother 2 years older, of course. My parents stayed in the house until 1973, when they downsized to a condo in Valley View. My parents were to live in Kamloops until Mum made her transition in 2001 at age 83, and Dad in 2003 at age 87. I started my talk with the statement that I had chosen my mother. Did anybody pick up on that? That might be a little bit of an unusual statement. Has anybody heard that before? For some of you, this might be a kind of a startling thing to hear. However, this spiritual work that we are engaged in at this Kamloops Center of the worldwide spiritual organization called Centers for Spiritual Living affirms the truth that we live in a spiritual universe which operates on purpose. As our souls contemplate upcoming human experiences, they choose their parents for the prospect of expansion, growth, and increase. The spiritual teaching that we embrace, called Science of Mind, comments on our souls. We believe in the eternality, the immortality, and the continuity of the individual soul forever and ever expanding. Here we are, expanding right now. Today, on Mother's Day, our mothers high on our attention scale, where does that leave us? For some, a lot to digest. Picking your parents? I thought we just kind of showed up. Before we started to awake to the reality of God being all there is, there being only one, an ever-present God, goodness, divine love, we were essentially, I was essentially asleep. And I believed in all sorts of forms and negativity. And so did almost everybody else, including our parents. Their reality was typically believing in life being rather fickle. Excuse me, maybe a crapshoot. Separated from goodness, believing in lack and limitation, a sense of being isolated from God. Certainly a belief in duality. Maybe some good, but a lot not so good. There was a moral high road, which I think members of the community recognized and aligned with, but not a common consciousness of an inner goodness that we could access, let alone be. Being an inner goodness. Taking the best from Jesus' teachings and following the golden rule of doing unto others as you would have them do unto you probably is a little bit simplistic in terms of the belief system, but nothing compared to the notion that we believe we are co-creators of our own life experience through our thinking. Our mothers typically are significant influences on us, during our most impressionable years. It seems to me that I took on a belief that I was abandoned when I went to live with my loving aunt and uncle. Significant separation anxiety when my mother was away, perhaps dropping me off while she went to work, showed up during my preschool years. That carried on into my teen years when I was away from home on few soccer trips and scout camps or outings. It appeared to me that I believed that I wasn't all right unless my mom was with me or was present. We took on, most of us, many of our thoughts, ideas, attitudes, and beliefs from our parents without much consideration, kind of like osmosis. For a mom, raising a child or 2 or 3 is a full-time job. But in the process, there was some philosophy going on there, wasn't there? There was a little bit of setting values. Several writers add their own descriptions. One very famous author unknown, I didn't figure that out, says, all mothers are working mothers. Sophia Loren, haven't talked about her for a while, in the publication Women and Beauty says, when you are a mother, you are never really alone in your thoughts. A mother always has to think twice, one for herself, once for her child. Is that true? Oprah Winfrey says, biology is the least of what makes someone a mother. And personally, I'm going to add to Oprah, I think multitasking is an absolute requirement if you're going to make it, right? Marion C. Garrity, in A Little Spoonful of Chicken Soup for the Mother's Soul, says, mother love, I like this one, getting a little bump here. Mother love is the fuel that enables a normal human being to do the impossible. And this is a nice one. William Makepeace Thackeray, good name, says, mother is the name for God in the lips and hearts of little children. Thackeray's comment comes closest in the direction that I now want to go. Whether as children we really perceived our mothers as God, I think I'll leave that to you. Did any of us see or perceive our mothers as spiritual beings? Maybe some highly awakened parents and subsequently their children. But now, with a belief statement supporting a conclusion that we chose our particular mother seemingly to expand, what do we now do with that? If we haven't already sought to connect with Mom on a deeper plane. Some of us are experiencing or have a strained to toxic relationship with our mother. It happens. If our mother has already made her transition, did we connect with her more deeply than we might have in common? It seems that our mothers were of great importance to us when we were infants and children at a material level, and as we age, it becomes an urge to connect at a deeper level. Is there a learning possible now that involves our mother as we grow and expand in consciousness? Now more alive, more awake, and more aware of our essential being. And perhaps we want more, and we recognize access appears to be limited. Perhaps, like my mother, she's made her transition. Can I connect with her anymore? I would say yes. I find using some larger aspects of divinity to help our inner work help us make some connections that we may be seeking these days with our mother. I have identified some with a little research under the label of, I have to say it loud enough so you can hear, God's will. Ooh, I wrote down here, I know that might be a fearsome label for some folks. God's will. I note that these are only suggestions, But I take that, I kind of look in the studying that I sometimes do, I kind of look at things that they declare were something special, and they always include some attributes of God which kind of lump in some important circumstances that we may want to take in. And note that these are only suggestions. I find engaging inner presence, divine wisdom, and unconditional love, etc., usually quite enlightening. Here's one question we might pose. What is there in my relationship with my mother that is pointing me towards beauty, truth, harmony, peace, clear thinking, and joy? Now for me, my way of kind of connecting is on walking with the dogs, doing anything, I will have that kind of stem memorized as natural.
Sorry, could you just repeat those 5 things? Beauty, truth, harmony, peace, clear thinking, and joy. Thank you.
You're welcome. I walk along and I say, inner spirit, CSO, whatever, was there anything in my relationship with Mom that was to open me for the larger expression of clear thinking? And I'll go along and something will come in and I'll go along. Was there anything in my, get the idea? So it's kind of a stem that asks the question for us to take in. Number 2, and these are ones that probably this is not rocket science, but I find it really good to be able to make some connections that I hadn't thought of before. What is there that I can learn about, again, God's will, beauty, truth, etc., in my relationship with my mom? So if I had a mom right here, right now, and we weren't talking, if I was hoping that we could get a bit more of a connection, I might say that and get some wisdom to guide me into a better connection with my mother. Just an idea. And a third, what is it about my relationship with Mom that can grow me? Remember, because we chose, as our souls, chose our mother with the idea of being with that person for us to grow and increase and expand. And sometimes in the fit of a rage or something like that, or whatever might have happened, we sometimes lose sight of that. There are only a couple, these are only a couple of small samples with general words. Use more specific language if you want to address particular issues. When Uncle Bob died last year or 4 years ago, you went into a deep depression. Is there something there that I can learn about this or that? So whatever, however it is, I bless you on your spiritual journey. Thanks, Mom, for being a wonderful mom, and she was when I was small, and now as a valued resource as I turn inward. Thank you. I'm going to stay here because I'd like now to, how are we doing? Okay? I'd like now, this takes about 4 minutes. I'd like to continue with a mother's prayer. So just relax and get comfortable in whatever way. There is only one God, and this one is the source of all creation, which originates in divine love. On this day, Mother's Day 2016, my heart overflows with love and faith and trust. I acknowledge the perfection and wholeness of mothers who have carried us and given us birth. I am grateful for the women, I'll add men occasionally, who raised us, who acted as our mothers in childhood, whether birth mother, surrogate mother, adopted mother, foster mother, stepmother, older sister, aunt, grandmother, or someone else. I join with the power of God to celebrate all of those women who held and fed us, who cared for us and kissed away our pain. I know that our lives reflect the love they showed us, and that they would be pleased to be called our mums. Also, I acknowledge today older mums whose children are grown, all grandmothers, great-grandmothers, etc. Today I speak my word for all mothers, that they experience joy and satisfaction for a job well done. I speak my word for pregnant women who will soon be mums, that they have patience, clarity, and guidance in the coming months. For the possible consideration of new thought mothers, that they might include some reference to the aspects of God's will. I speak my word for mums who face the demands of single parenthood, knowing that they are strengthened and given wisdom. I speak for mums who enjoy financial abundance, and for mums who are raising their children in poverty, that they all experience the life-enhancing tools of truth. I speak my word for stepmoms, knowing that they are given quality time to share with their families and imbued with patience. May Spirit give them peace and hope. I speak my word for mums who are separated from their children, and I bless them. Hope and peace. I speak for mums in marriages that are in crisis. May they be filled with spirit and insight. May the lives of mothers flow in order and be receptive this day to Spirit, the life-giving principle. I pray for men who have been mothers to children. May they receive deeper love as caregivers to children. I pray for women who have lost children. May they be comforted in all their sorrow. I pray for adopted mothers, that they be filled with love, acceptance, and gratitude for the gift of children. I pray for those people present who are grieving the loss of their mother in the past year. I pray for mums whose homes and lives, most recently in Fort McMurray in Canada, and ongoing in Africa and the Middle East, have been dramatically altered by natural or human-caused tragedies. May each one of us find comfort and hope in the acceptance of eternal life. I pray for those mothers who are experiencing challenges in their health. May any appearance of disease be replaced with vibrant energy and love of life. And so it is. Blessings to all of you. Now, we've got a little bit of a ritual to do, and we've got a few folks, so maybe Reverend Pat